Damsel by Evelyn Skye. The story begins in the Duchy of Inophe, a land ravaged by 70 years of drought. Its landscape is barren sand dunes dotted with cacti and hardy trees, its people surviving through bartering and meager resources like acacia gum and guano. Duke Richard Bayford, a tall, wiry man wrinkled by the sun, rides with his 20-year-old daughter, Elodie. Elodie, destined to inherit the duchy, possesses a deep love for her harsh homeland and its resilient people. Despite her tendency towards social awkwardness, she often assists her father, checking on tenants, helping with practical tasks like building solar stills, and dreaming of the sea and the wider world through sailors' tales heard at the harbor. While overlooking their land, they encounter Emmanuel, a shepherd needing materials to build a cottage for his soon-to-be married son, a tradition increasingly difficult to uphold in their impoverished duchy. Lord Bayford readily agrees, highlighting Elodie's practical skills, though she makes a typically awkward comment about digging latrines. Later, they spot an unfamiliar ship approaching the harbor. Racing down to the docks, a race Elodie loses, resigning herself to digging the latrine. They find a vessel gleaming with wealth, bearing the unfamiliar coat of arms of a gold dragon, clutching wheat and berries. Lord Bayford introduces Elodie to Alexandra Ravella, a trim, silver-haired royal envoy from the Kingdom of Aurea. To Elodie's shock, her father reveals he has secretly negotiated her engagement to Aurea's Crown Prince Henry, a pact made months prior. Lieutenant Ravella confirms the proposal. Elodie is to become the next princess of the Golden Kingdom. 8 months later, Elodie, her father, her younger sister Floria, 13, exuberant with black braids, and her stepmother Lady Lucinda Bayford, beautiful but rigid and disapproving, are aboard an Inophian ship nearing Aurea. Elodie, using her self-taught navigation skills, much to the superstitious crew's unease, confirms their position. She has exchanged letters with Henry, finding him thoughtful, while sharing stories of Inophe and her maze-making hobby for Floria. Elodie accepts the marriage primarily for Inophe's survival. Aurea's immense wealth will save her people from starvation. However, she remains puzzled about what Aurea gains from the alliance. Lieutenant Ravella, who accompanies them, becomes strangely distant and formal as they approach Aurea, unsettling Elodie. As the ship navigates through thick fog, Elodie uses her makeshift sextant, a hairpin, and knowledge of the stars to guide Captain Croat. She expertly orders the ship to halt just before they reach 2 menacing stone dragon statues, marking Aurea's boundaries. Emerging from the fog, the Isle of Aurea reveals itself, a verdant paradise with orchards, fields, a majestic mountain, Mount Cavis, and a sparkling golden palace. Floria is ecstatic, while even the usually stoic Lady Bayford marvels at the lushness. Elodie feels a mix of awe and guilt, contrasting Aurea's bounty with Inophe's suffering. Upon disembarking, Lieutenant Ravella rides ahead. A golden carriage takes the Bayfords through lands overflowing with silver pears, sangberries, and healthy livestock. The Aurean peasants look well-fed and content, starkly different from Inophians. Elodie waves, but feels the weight of her people's plight. The Golden Palace is breathtakingly opulent, yet their arrival feels strangely subdued. They are met not by the royal family, but by the chamberlain, who apologizes for their early arrival and explains the royals are at prayer. He leads them through narrow servants' corridors to Elodie's assigned tower room. The room is overwhelmingly golden, filled with crystal-like anthodite flowers. Floria is delighted, but Elodie feels the crushing weight of this extravagance compared to Inophe's poverty. Thoughtful gifts await her, a gold-framed map of the stars for their wedding night, and gold hair combs shaped like shields. As Elodie examines the combs, feeling their immense value, she notices a sad-looking young woman with platinum hair in the opposite tower, who quickly shuts her curtains upon seeing Elodie. Later, examining a unique hourglass with crimson sand and a V-shaped frame, Elodie touches a dark stain resembling old blood and experiences a flash of disturbing images: green eyes, red hair, fire reflected in a crown. Shaken, she drops and breaks the hourglass, dismissing the vision as fatigue. Unable to sleep, she notices the mosaic ceiling tiles seeming to slither, then realizes the flickering light comes from outside, a procession of torches moving up Mount Cavis. She meets Floria on the battlements, also watching the eerie lights gather, then extinguish abruptly. Floria finds it beautiful. Elodie feels unease. They return to Elodie's room, Floria expressing sadness about their impending separation, and fall asleep together. Below, Lady Lucinda watches the torches with foreboding, arguing with Lord Bayford that Elodie should have stayed in Inophe and had a normal wedding. The next morning, Elodie meets the royal family. Prince Henry is strikingly handsome and charming, immediately putting her at ease despite her nervousness. Queen Isabel, regal and assessing, welcomes her warmly. King Roderick, however, appears ill and pale, abruptly excusing himself. Elodie, despite her awkwardness, manages the introductions, rescued from a gaffe by her father. The Queen assures them of Aurea's hospitality. Henry takes Elodie for a walk in the resplendent gardens. He dismisses her concern about his father's health, explaining the king suffers from an ailment requiring rest. He expresses admiration for Elodie's unique qualities, gleaned from her letters. A lavish picnic awaits them, but Elodie struggles with guilt over the excess compared to Inophe's starvation. Henry gently urges her to enjoy the moment, hinting at future burdens. Later, palace seamstresses arrive to create Elodie's wedding gown. Amidst luxurious fabrics, Floria is thrilled, especially at avoiding Lady Bayford's likely drab creation. Elodie, feeling overwhelmed and guilty, initially resists but relents for Floria's sake. They choose an elegant, flowing cream silk design. Elodie arranges for Floria to have a dress made too, causing her sister to faint with delight. On another outing, Elodie insists Henry show her the farns. She marvels at the miraculous Aurum wheat and silver pears, questioning Aurea's isolation despite its valuable exports. Henry explains Aurians are private people. Elodie asks about the woman in the tower. Henry reveals the royal family only bears sons, and cryptically mentions an estranged older brother, Jacob, who left Aurea, saddling Henry with his duties. Elodie observes the happy, hard-working farmers, but is disturbed when young boys bully a girl, calling her Princess Victoria and shoving her into a ditch. Elodie rescues the muddy, crying girl, who asks ominously, "Who will save you?" before her father hastily removes her. Henry dismisses the incident, but the name Victoria and the girl's question echo Elodie's earlier vision and unease. The night before the wedding, an intimate family dinner features an extravagant feast. King Roderick again retires early. Afterward, Henry leads Elodie onto the moonlit battlements. She asks about the torchlight ceremony she witnessed. Henry explains it's part of an annual harvest gratitude ritual, with 3 prayers for past, present, and future, dismissing it as superstition. He then presents her with a stunning gold necklace bearing the Aurian dragon crest with ruby berries, formally proposing. Overwhelmed by his gesture and the romance, Elodie accepts with a passionate kiss, her earlier doubts momentarily forgotten. Meanwhile, Queen Isabel observes Henry's resolve, noting his hardening demeanor and acceptance that Elodie, with her questioning nature, cannot be the princess he ultimately keeps. Later, Lady Bayford bursts into Elodie's room, distraught, urging her to call off the wedding, saying the match won't last. Lord Bayford interrupts, dismissing his wife's concerns as anxiety from medication, reinforcing Elodie's determination to marry Henry. Elodie's wedding night arrives. The castle gleams, the rooftop terrace magically lit by the moon. Wearing his stunning cream silk gown, Henry's necklace, and the gold combs, Elodie walks down the aisle on her father's arm. He seems emotional, tearfully telling her he loves her. Lady Bayford looks tense and disapproving. Henry awaits under a golden pavilion, flanked by the Queen and a distant King Roderick. A heavily tattooed priestess officiates. Elodie swears her oath to Aurea. The vows are slightly uneven, contingent on her lifespan. During a blood-mingling ritual, where the Queen cuts both their palms with a jeweled dagger, Elodie experiences another vision, this time of Henry's childhood loss of his brother. Queen Isabel places a gold tiara on Elodie's head, proclaiming her Princess of Aurea to cheers. The wedding banquet in the gardens is even grander. As aristocrats offer respects, Elodie grows restless, eager for the night to progress. A peasant girl, the same one from the fields, bursts in, screaming it must stop, before being struck unconscious by guards and removed. Henry dismisses her as an anti-monarchist, urging Elodie to ignore the incident and enjoy the night. Elodie, disturbed by the collective denial, forces herself to dance with Henry, trying to rationalize the unsettling events. Later, dancing with her emotional father, he tells her again he loves her, no matter what. Floria mentions Lady Bayford felt unwell and left. Queen Isabel then appears, inviting Elodie to participate in another, women-only Aurean wedding tradition, described as a great honor. The Queen leads Elodie deep underground through cold granite corridors. They arrive at a chamber filled with chanting, crimson-robed priestesses, and herb-scented mist. The Queen explains this sacred ritual honors Aurean ancestors. Priestesses remove Elodie's jewelry for safekeeping. They anoint her body with golden oil using rosemary stalks, then paint her with intricate patterns while chanting in an ancient, unknown language, Cavis Ventvis. Elodie, initially unnerved, surrenders to the ceremony's solemnity. They braid her hair securely into her tiara and dress her in a new, ethereal lavender gown layered with gemstones. The Queen, seemingly preparing her for the final step, tells Elodie she looks like an angel. Isabel, internally tormented, fulfills her role in the tradition. Elodie, now prepared, is led by the Queen through more dim passageways to an iron door outside. A magnificent golden carriage, shaped like a dragon's head, awaits, escorted by numerous knights. Henry emerges, complimenting her appearance. Elodie, confused but trusting, enters the carriage with him, leaving the Queen behind. The coach ascends Mount Cavis. Halfway up, the carriage stops. Henry urges Elodie out onto a cold, rocky path. He tells her to walk ahead, reminding her she wanted to visit the mountain. She hesitantly follows the trail to a ridge overlooking a deep gorge filled with fog and winged granite dragon statues, identical to those at sea. Across the gorge, cloaked figures in gold masks hold flaming torches. Elodie turns, seeing the torchlight reflected in Henry's eyes, just like in her dream. He grabs her waist possessively. Her father, also masked and cloaked, is among them but avoids her gaze. Queen Isabel, wearing a horned gold mask, proclaims from the other side that Aurea must pay a price to thrive, a sacred duty passed down generations. Henry shouts, "Cavis desires and we must sacrifice." The figures chant, "Life for life, blood for fire." Elodie is funneled toward a narrow stone bridge spanning the gorge. The Queen recounts the history. Their ancestors found paradise on Aurea, but angered a monster, a dragon. The first king sacrificed his 3 daughters to appease it, securing peace. The pact requires renewal, 3 gifts of royal blood each harvest season. Elodie realizes the horrifying truth. She was bought to be fed to the dragon. Queen Isabel frames it as an honor, a noble sacrifice. Elodie confronts her father, who lowers his head in shame. Refusing to go docilely, Elodie faces Henry. After a rough kiss, he throws her over the bridge into the chasm. Elodie plummets, but survives, cushioned by a thick layer of moss at the gorge bottom. Initially thinking it a test of trust, her hope evaporates as the procession's hoofbeats recede, abandoning her. Panicked and claustrophobic, she tears off her restrictive corset. Spotting a flickering light, she follows it into a tunnel, hoping for rescue, but finds only thermal vents. Deeper in, she hears slithering and a raspy voice speaking an unknown language. Emerging into a large cavern, she witnesses horrific sights. Cave swallows spontaneously combusting, crashing aflame into nests and stalagmites. The slithering sound returns, closer, accompanied by immense heat. A colossal, armored tail appears. Then a massive violet eye with a gold slit opens. The creature identifies itself. "I am Cavis, dragon." Terrified, Elodie scrambles up a stalagmite. The dragon, Cavis, speaks, partially in her language, partially in its own, Cavis Ventvis. It reveals it wants its part of the bargain. Life for life, blood for fire. It relishes her fear, considering strong princess blood the most powerful, and challenges her to run. It unleashes flames, igniting the cave. Elodie flees back toward the gorge landing, the dragon pursuing leisurely. She races across the moss, narrowly escaping its claws as she dives into a small cave opening. The dragon roars, unable to follow, but shoots fire inside. Elodie's dress catches. She rolls frantically, extinguishing the flames, but burning herself. Trapped and terrified, she forces herself onward through narrow passages. She emerges into another cave, dropping down and spraining her ankle. The dragon is waiting. Elodie realizes she's being herded. She spots remnants of past princesses, skulls, bones, a tiara with platinum hair. Using a piece of her skirt, soaked in blood from her injured calf as a decoy, she distracts the dragon and squeezes into a narrow crevice. The dragon breathes fire against the rock, scalding her, but doesn't kill her outright, preferring the hunt. It taunts her, then leaves, promising to return. Elodie, trapped, burned, and alone, finally breaks down sobbing. Meanwhile, Floria, unaware, revels in the wedding's memory in her tower room. Cora Ravella, the peasant girl, is returned home by a knight after her outburst. Her mother, Alexandra, reveals her secret identity as a royal scout who recruits princesses like Elodie. Filled with guilt spurred by Cora's bravery, Alexandra resolves to help. Back in the crevice, Elodie awakens from pain and exhaustion. She discovers glowing blue slugs, glowworms, covering her wounds. Initially repulsed, she realizes they are healing her rapidly, leaving only faint scars. Grateful, she thanks them. Exploring the cave where she landed after the crevice, the glowworm cave, she finds a V symbol, leading her to another and another, a trail left by Princess Victoria. Following it, she discovers a hidden tunnel. Crawling through the hot, smooth tunnel, she emerges into a chamber lit by the glowworms shining through pinprick holes in the rock. A message carved by Victoria confirms, "Safe here, it cannot reach." Nearby, nearly 100 names of past princesses are etched, many with bloody thumbprints. Elodie realizes these are the few who survived long enough to find this sanctuary. Touching the bloodstains triggers visions, memories of past princesses. Mina fashioning a dagger, Ailing marking a map with a cave used as a mausoleum, Aline discovering the dragon once had a family, Camilla harvesting sharp anthodite flowers for defense. Empowered by this connection to her sisterhood, Elodie begins deciphering Cavis Ventvis using volcanic glass, recording vocabulary and grammar rules on the wall. The dragon taunts her from afar, revealing the next sacrifice is due in 2 days. Elodie attempts to make a weapon from volcanic glass but fails. Exhausted and overheated in the safe cave, she realizes she must venture out for food and water. Following the map towards a water symbol, she uses glowworms collected in a fabric pouch as a lantern. The dragon senses her movement, taunting her again. Elodie reaches a cold cave marked with wavy lines but finds only mud puddles. Discovering dripping icicles above, she uses a large edible red mushroom cap, marked Eat on the map, unlike the poisonous pink ones marked No, to collect water. As she waits, the dragon finds her, its fiery breath melting the ice ceiling above. Elodie flees back through the tunnels, the dragon pursuing. It sets her glowworm lantern ablaze. She makes it back to the safe cave just as the dragon roars outside. Weak, hot, and hungry, she despairs. A cave swallow appears, perhaps the one from the palace tower, perhaps a hallucination, and directs her attention to another part of the map marked with music, flower, and sun symbols. Deciding to trust it, she follows the swallow through the labyrinth. She enters a vast cavern filled with swallows singing an ethereal melody, then another chamber filled with sharp, crystalline anthodite flowers. High above, sunlight streams in through an angled opening in the lava tube, the sun symbol. This must be the way out. Victoria's V symbol confirms it. Elodie attempts to climb the treacherous wall, using torn dress fabric to protect her hands from the sharp flowers. She falls twice, dislocating her shoulder on the second fall. In agony, remembering her mother's encouragement, she realizes she can use her tiara as a climbing tool, hooking it over the flowers. Popping her shoulder back in, she begins the arduous ascent again. The dragon finds her below, but is too large to fly up the narrow chimney. As Elodie nears the top, the tiara breaks. She dangles precariously, saved only by grabbing an anthodite flower, slicing her hands open. The dragon taunts her from below. She climbs the final distance, the dragon aware it cannot reach her here, but promising to find another way. Elodie emerges onto a narrow, high peak with no way down except a terrifyingly thin ledge marked with Victoria's V. She edges along the precarious path. Fog obscures her view. Suddenly, the dragon attacks from the air, having flown out another exit. It claws at the rock, tries to sweep her off with its tail. Elodie clings desperately to the cliff face, shouting the names of past princesses, refusing to be just another victim. She finds another fissure marked Not Safe V and squeezes inside just as the dragon strikes again. She discovers Victoria's melted tiara and realizes this princess died here. The dragon taunts her, revealing Victoria wasn't burned, but died another way. It blows incapacitating yellow gas into the fissure. Elodie throws rocks, defiant. The dragon departs suddenly, distracted. Elodie realizes it must have seen torches below, her father and sailors arriving via the path Victoria originally took. Knowing they are walking into a trap, Elodie forces herself back onto the ledge, retracing her steps to the anthodite cave. She descends, finding her father's sword where he fell. The dragon ambushes the Inophians, slaughtering the sailors brutally. Lord Bayford confronts the dragon, confessing he didn't know the sacrifice was real, believing it a metaphor. The dragon reveals Elodie is watching. Father sees her, begs forgiveness, yells that the ship waits and there's another way out, the chute with the ropes, before the dragon incinerates him. Devastated but resolute, Elodie flees towards the chute father mentioned. She climbs the rope left by the sailors, escaping just as the dragon burns it below her. Outside, Elodie takes a horse and flees down the mountain, the dragon pursuing. She abandons the horse to move stealthily, hiding first in thorny bushes, then among charred trees, using ash to mask her scent. The dragon, enraged at being tricked, flies towards the palace and villages, roaring threats about the broken bargain. Floria, waiting at the harbor with Lady Bayford and Aurean refugees Alexandra Ravella helped organize, witnesses the dragon's fury. Lady Bayford reveals the terrible truth about the sacrifices. Elodie encounters Lady Bayford on the mountain path. Lucinda tried to stop Henry from taking Floria, but was injured. Lucinda reveals Henry took Floria back to the caves as bait to lure Elodie. Understanding the trap, Elodie sends her stepmother to the harbor, promising to rescue Floria and meet her there. Henry, meanwhile, callously throws the terrified Floria off the bridge into the gorge. Elodie returns to the gorge, jumps into the moss, and finds the tunnel Victoria used. Listening, she hears nothing but silence. Realizing the dragon expects her and will wait, she strategizes. She returns to the safe cave, adds her and Floria's names to the wall, retrieves her father's sword from the cave where he died, and sets a timed trap using another sword, shield fragment, and dripping water skin. She enters the dragon's lair, a stunning cave of quartz, gems, and gold coins. Statues of ancient dragons provide cover. From hiding, she sees the dragon cooing over a hidden patch of ground, its scales shimmering lavender. Floria is alive but terrified on a stone platform in a green pond. Elodie accidentally reveals herself by stumbling over the gold coins, uncovering a horrifying sight. Dozens of cracked, pale purple eggs containing mummified dragon babies. The dragon is a grieving mother. Elodie feels unexpected empathy, but knows she must proceed. The dragon, alerted, prepares to attack. Elodie uses Cavis Ventvis to taunt the dragon about its dead mother Victoria and its lost babies, maneuvering it into position. The dragon blasts fire. Elodie dodges, letting the flames hit the two-headed statue, redirecting the fire back onto the dragon. Engulfed in flames, it thrashes, collapsing Floria's platform. Elodie digs Floria out from the rubble. The dragon rises from the river, its scales burned away, revealing raw purple skin. It attacks Elodie, impaling her through the chest with its talon. Simultaneously, Elodie thrusts her father's sword into the dragon's now vulnerable heart. Sharing blood, Elodie experiences the dragon's memory of its mother dying from Victoria's poison. Realizing the dragon sought princess blood to reverse the poison's effect and revive her line. As they both lie dying, Elodie forgives the dragon. It sheds a tear before collapsing. Floria frantically tries to save Elodie, but the wound is fatal. Glowworms descend, covering Elodie. Floria grieves, believing Elodie dead. Eventually, she notices the glowworms healing Elodie from the inside, due to those Elodie swallowed, and outside. Elodie awakens, weak but alive. Realizing the mingled blood and glowworms have changed her, she forms a new plan. Lady Bayford waits at the harbor as Elodie, cleaned up and wearing the Inophean wedding dress Lucinda made, crashes the third princess's wedding. She confronts Henry and Isabel, reveals the truth of the sacrifices, and warns the new bride away. She declares she slew the dragon, then saved it. Revealing golden scales shimmering on her arm, she explains the shared blood created a new beginning. The healed dragon, Ritaza, arrives. Elodie offers the royals a choice, death or exile. Henry flees. The king and queen accept their fate. Elodie, transforming fully into a golden dragon, lets Ritaza enact the sentence, then flies away. Floria leads some refugees ashore to rebuild Aurea, while Lady Bayford sails with the others to Inophe. A week later, Elodie, in human form but with shifting scales, stands with Floria on Mount Cavis. She plans to rule Aurea differently, transparently, embracing her dual nature. Ritaza joins them. Elodie, now fluent in Cavis Ventvis, speaks with her about the single dragon egg that is now viable thanks to their mingled blood and the glowworm's magic. Ready to embrace her future, Elodie transforms back into her golden dragon form. Floria climbs onto her back. Together with Ritaza, they leap off the mountain and soar into the new dawn. If you enjoyed this book breakdown, please consider liking this video and subscribing to get notified when we post our next book.